Well, there's one extreme. There's two extremes. There's the Cthulhu problem, and then there's I don't know what the opposite, heaven or whatever, where you have the most amount of free will, where you are a god. I guess would be the opposite. In both cases, when you are a god, you always make the right decision, right?
No matter what.
No matter what. Presumably,
God.
You're omniscient, omnipotent, whatever. But then in the Cthulhu issue, it seems like you can't make the right decision, no matter what you do. And that seems to be the case with any extreme scenario. When you don't have a lot of options, when you have very little options that you can make rationally or morally, that makes it impossible to determine objective morality, which gives me dread. That makes me like not happy, because it implies that when you have an overwhelming force or despair, that is the formula to destroy your humanity.
Alrighty, what up, you guys? I'm Bryson Smith.
And I'm Javin, and this is Etcetera.
Finally got it right.
We got it. We're a podcast. We're called Etcetera. As you can see, we've got some sheer curtains in our background. I like this background. I think it's going to be really nice.
Me too. I wish we had more lights, though, like on the my left, your right. I want more lights on the side, which we're going to get, hopefully, at some point.
This place is going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah. So well, first off, if you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. We'd appreciate your commentary, your subscription, all those sort of things. But the plan here is to turn this into a studio. So that's kind of what's going to be happening within the next few, month or two?
Yeah, a month or two.
Yeah, month or two.
All right. So today,
let's get into the topic.
Today we're going to be discussing one of H.P. Lovecraft's works.
Right.
And a deep philosophical discussion.
Right.
So H.P. Lovecraft created a character, or rather a creature, called Cthulhu.
And he's an author, or was an author in like the, early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was some background information on him.
Right.
He had a lot of anxiety. He was just not, this life business was not his thing. And a notorious racist, ridiculously racist. Classic detail about him is that he named his cat the N-word.
Yeah, you told me that.
Hard R. And he just hated any and all kind of scientific advancement. He was scared by everything.
Though?
I don't know why. He was just anxious about things he didn't understand. And part of that was, the list goes on. He didn't understand black people. He didn't understand rural areas. He didn't understand colors. He didn't understand refrigerators. There's a lot. But he turned it into horror stories that are classics, genuinely some of the best even to this day. And one of them, the most famous, probably
Cthulhu. The octopus, weird looking creature that you see in a lot of movies and books and whatnot. That
part
guy.
Octopus, part dragon, part man god.
Yeah.
And he exists as a cosmic entity that represents despair, madness, destruction, but isn't technically malicious is as much as they just don't care.
Right. I do want to say that people think that he actually created this creature as a sort of coping mechanism for his anxiety, because he suffered from a lot of anxiety. So that's why people think that he came up with Cthulhu in the first place.
Yeah, which is reasonable. Like, that's often how anxiety manifests, as a immutable force of despair. So the discussion is, with this being an elder god of cosmic proportions that incites madness into those it exposes itself to.
Right.
Would you say there's any reasonable way you could destroy Cthulhu? Like you, an individual, a man?
Like physically?
Yeah, physically.
I would say no. There's no way you can destroy some godlike creature.
So if it wanted to kill you, could you stop it?
You can't stop something like that.
If you knew it was going to kill you, would you have any means through which you could change that circumstance? Like, to where it kills somebody else, anything. Yeah, go for
I was
it.
gonna say, if this creature is gonna kill me and this thing is like essentially a god, there's nothing I can do.
There's nothing you can do. So
I'm just a man.
So here's what I call the Cthulhu problem. I'm sure other philosophers have talked about this type of problem in deeper and more intriguing ways, but this is what I came up with. So I don't really care.
I'm gonna clap for you. Let's hear it.
Thank you, stock applause audio.
Ralph wants to hear it.
They always
too.
support me. Ralph had a few run-ins with Cthulhu, and he turned out okay. And I want to talk about that, but he's kind of shy. So Cthulhu, if he were to manifest at your door, essentially,
A physical being?
Yeah, a physical being.
Okay.
And he, to your knowledge, had intent. You already know about Cthulhu. You know he's unstoppable, all of these things. Let's assume that that nothing about him has made you go insane. He hasn't gotten into your mind or anything. He's just there, and you know that he's about to destroy you.
Okay.
What is the rational thing to do? What is the right and rational thing for a human being to do?
Run and scream.
Run. Do you think so?
I think that's what most human beings do if you're against some godlike creature.
But is that rational?
Running and screaming is usually not rational, but people do it. It's a defense mechanism.
Okay, so we're gonna assume that you have some, that while you are not omnipotent, you have an insane degree of rationality and a deep understanding of ethics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, in that moment, what is the right thing to do? What is the rational and right thing to do when you're faced with a literal god of despair? What is the correct thing to do?
What do you think the correct thing is to do?
I have no fucking clue.
But
here's some options. So it's said in H.P. Lovecraft stuff that when you see the god, you go insane. Not because it like breaks your mind or anything.
That makes things even worse. You really are fucked then. If I just look at him, that's like some Sharingan Naruto shit. Like
Right. But it's not like an automatic thing. It's because looking at Cthulhu kind of shows you how small you are in the universe. It shows you that you truly can't comprehend deep and utter this immense power.
He's far beyond you.
And by realizing that, by truly understanding that, instead of deluding yourself, you go insane. So the question is it right to just surrender to the madness, to just go insane? Is that the best thing you can do in that scenario?
It might be, to be honest, because you can't do anything else.
Yeah, but doesn't that sound fucked? Like,
but you are
the right
fucked.
thing to do. Right. But
we're fucked in this situation, Javid.
We'd like to think, because we're human beings, that being rational and trying to approach things in a rational way is always going to be better than being crazy, right?
But I feel like, we'd like to think that.
Do you think that's wrong?
I mean, it doesn't really matter if we're up against this godlike creature.
So does anything matter?
Not really, no. If this thing is a god, and it's like, what are we gonna do?
What? So you think committing suicide would be a rational, moral decision?
A rational moral decision,
right? Is that the appropriate response?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the person.
What would you do?
Dude, if God or this godlike creature knocked on my door and I opened up the door, and if I look at this guy, I realize that I'm nothing, I would do absolutely nothing, because it doesn't matter what I do. Really? Well, no, that's a lie. I'll probably do something. There's no telling what I'll do. Maybe I'll run. Maybe I'll scream. Maybe I don't know.
Jumping jacks?
I mean, does it matter? We're dead.
Well, would you kill somebody?
What do you mean? Like,
would you just go out and shoot somebody?
If this thing is if this thing is in the physical form and it's just approached me, I'm just gonna go out and kill someone.
Let's say it's like gonna kill you in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or a day.
So basically, I just know that I'm gonna die.
Yeah. No. More than that. That you're going to die because of this cosmic being that you truly have no control.
And he told me like, I'm gonna kill you in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Like, it's not like cancer where it's this like society no longer exists in the context of this giant being. This being is here. The whole world sees that this being is here. What do you do?
Probably wouldn't do anything. Wow. It's like asking. It's almost like if like it makes me think of like if a meteor was coming to Earth, and there's a time limit like 30. There's literally a time like a clock that's letting you know when you're about to die. What does anyone do? Or even like when the Americans like bombed Iwo Jima, like did they even know they were gonna get bombed?
I don't know.
I don't know if they knew or not. But
tell us if they knew. That would be
I think it just happened. Actually, I don't think they knew. But my point is like if a meteor came and that was on the countdown, it's like what do? You just know you're gonna die. You can't do anything.
Well, it's a little bit different because when we talk about this is why I use Cthulhu as an example rather than any smaller thing. Because like with cancer, there's always that hope that maybe a cure will come out. Maybe we'll stop the meteor using science. Maybe, like there's always something. Well, with Cthulhu, there is truly nothing.
Yeah, I know. But what you in this scenario, you've given me a specific time limit, a countdown.
Yeah.
30 minutes on the dot.
Yeah, but instead of investing time, I guess what I'm saying is some people would invest time in trying to figure out how to destroy whatever's threatening them.
I would probably do the most if I knew I was gonna die within like 30 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'd let my kids or wife or whatever whoever I love, my money or any sort of assets I can give to them. I'd do something like that.
Well, you'd give them stuff. You'd give your family.
Yeah, I'm
stuff?
about to die. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so in the situation where, let me change it up a little bit. It's the whole world. The whole world's about to be destroyed by this cosmic being who doesn't care, isn't capable of communicating with you in any way. It's Cthulhu. It's the god of despair, essentially. What some people would just... What I'm saying is, what would be the right thing to do? What is the rational and right thing to do? Rather than things you'd like to do, things that people could do, what is the best thing you could do with that situation?
I think the best thing I could do is what I was just telling you.
Just spend time with your family. And
I would just give them, on the knowledge of just 30 minutes to live, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just give them things and whatnot. Like money, my car, I don't know, anything. Take it all. I'm leaving.
But the money's meaningless.
I'm descending from you guys.
No. The whole world's dead, like in 30 minutes.
We're all dead in 30 minutes? Dude. What would mankind do if they knew they were all going to die in 30 minutes?
They would do so many things. They would go crazy.
Whoever that girl is you wanted to fuck so bad, you should go talk to her. I'm just keeping it at 100. Like, she'd probably be like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna die anyway. Like, let's just do
but
let's do the craziest thing we can think of. We have 15 minutes left.
Is that the best thing to do with your time?
Is it? Probably not, but it's the end of the world for everyone, and people are gonna be people and do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Really?
You don't think so?
No, they would. But I'm saying,
what I'm saying.
Like, I'm trying to think of what I would do. Is it right for me to hope? Is it right for me to hope in that scenario when I know it's a delusion? Is it right to go insane and kill yourself? Is it right to just go out and have sex with people? Is it right to just sit down and do nothing?
If we're going to all die in 30 minutes, is it right or wrong is going to go outside of your mind to the masses? They're not going to care about what's right and what's wrong if we're all dead.
But what's right and wrong to you? Does morality only exist in the context of survival?
If you said what matters to me?
Yeah, like, okay, here's what I'm saying.
I already told you. If I'm dying, we're going to die.
Okay. Okay.
It's not that deep for me.
Let me rephrase this again. Cthulhu, god of destruction.
God of destruction.
You are unable to communicate with any of your family or friends.
So now I can't talk. You're just stripping me of everything.
That's right. Everything. That's the point.
You're literally stripping me down to the point to where when you're going to ask me, what do you do? I'm just going to be like, Javin, there's nothing I can do. Like, there's no answer to it.
What? Well, sure. There's a couple things you can do. You can.
If you can't do anything, if I can't even do that, if it gets to that point to where you're just going to be like, you can't kill yourself. Cthulhu has to kill you.
You know those scenes in like the astronaut movies, like space movies, where somebody lets go and they drift off into space?
That's what I would do mentally and spiritually. If
just untether.
What else are you gonna do, Javin?
That's what I want to know because it's really important.
Well, how deep do you want to go with this conversation? I want to go as deep.
Here's why this is important.
Because if we're gonna be talking about fantasy, then we might as well put religion in there.
That's true.
Because in that case, I'm praying to Jesus Christ.
I see that.
And there you go.
But bear with me.
Let's hear it.
I think belief is a meaningful thing, and that when you believe, it provides assets, right? It provides you a
gives you hope.
It gives you hope. But in the face of Cthulhu, who is a god-like entity,
so is Christ, though.
That's true. So let's assume this is a hard one for me because religion.
That's like because we're merging religious with fantasy.
That's hard for me because I religion, if in that context, isn't it just what if you're not saved in that scenario? What if you just die or even worse, you're like tortured eternally in Cthulhu's mind, or you
That's
break.
Scary.
Right, it's scary. So what is praying to Jesus? Like, what if you're not saved? Didn't you just waste that time?
That would give you a sense of, well, if you're praying to Jesus, you're saved. That's accepting him. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, what if
Cthulhu
doesn't kill you? He just keeps you immortal and just tortured for the rest of your eternal life.
That's scary too. Then I guess this person would be praying that they would escape from this, and he would have, or she would have, some sort of hope in that.
Isn't that delusional?
Isn't Cthulhu delusional?
You're saying it's a fantasy.
Like,
here's what I'm saying. The reason why I find this to be an important question isn't just because, oh, isn't this fun? Everyone dies. It's because when I want to figure out does morality exist when you have no options, when you have nothing you can do?
I felt like I answered that earlier.
You said no.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was like, if there was a time limit on everyone dying, right or wrong is going to go right out the window with most people.
But isn't that unsettling? That means that when somebody perceives that they have no options, then you can't hold them accountable for their actions.
You said, wait, can you repeat that?
If somebody feels like they have no options, then you can't hold them accountable for their actions.
I feel like in this context, it'd be different.
How's that?
Well, because, I mean, everyone is about to die.
No. I changed it to where you're alone and you're faced with Cthulhu and you have no ability to communicate with anyone else. You have literally no connection with anything other than, let's say, your house or whatever. There's no one around. You're alone. And then there's Cthulhu right there. And he's walking down.
Okay.
What do you do? Like, you have no options. Is it right to hold you morally accountable to what you do?
Does it matter if you can't do anything?
Well, that's the question. Does it matter if you can't do anything? Does Cthulhu...
Nothing matters in this regard, though.
Which means that Cthulhu, his existence renders things meaningless. Despair literally makes things meaningless inherently, meaning there is no fundamental value to life. There is no fundamental value to anything other than we put into it. And if something else puts that out of that context, we're fucked. Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Sorry. That was a little.
I'm just having a hard time grasping this. Well, not really. It's not deep to me at all. Like, it's as simple as, like, yo, Cthulhu's approaching me. I'm fucked. Apparently, if I look at this guy, I feel despair and all this stuff. If I have no options and you're asking me, what do you do? It's like, well, what can I do? I have no options.
Well, you can go crazy. You can commit suicide. You can pray.
Yeah.
You can, like...
Those things can, like, prayer could give you hope if you kill yourself. Okay, you kill yourself. And it's like...
Is it right to kill yourself rather than trying to buy time?
When is it ever right to kill yourself?
That's the question. If you feel like you have no options.
Okay, so let's say this person kills themselves, and you're asking, is it right? I mean, I guess it's all perspective. Like, would you kill yourself?
No, I wouldn't kill myself. I would probably just do something I enjoyed for those last few minutes, or try to figure out what the fuck this Cthulhu business is. Just be like, what the fuck? But that's my issue. I don't like the idea when we put people in extreme circumstances. I don't like that morality just kind of breaks down. That's an uncomfortable idea to me, because it implies that morality, the idea of right and wrong, is not objective. It's just relative to whatever circumstances you're in. And if you're put into a crazy circumstance,
extreme circumstances that's why they're extreme circumstances. This makes me think of one of our previous videos with cannibalism.
That's exactly what
which I'll put up right here. So we did a video on cannibalism. Basically, like, usually that's something that only happens when it's an extreme situation.
You're starving. You're like really hungry.
Right. There was this particular situation. I forget the name of it. We go into more details on it though. I'll put it up, but yeah, it makes me think of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Like, if you're in despair, can you ever truly be held accountable for the actions you take? You're trying to hold on to hope, and that turns into this perverted version of humanity.
It's like a weird gray area, because like I'm still on the cannibalism thing, because like, yeah, let's say you're the survivor of these group of people that ate people because they were the last thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, when you come back to your house or whatever, and they ask you like, how did you survive? And you tell them you ate people. It's like,
what do you do?
That's so crazy. I mean, it's very taboo. I would never eat someone no matter how much. I'd probably just die of starvation. The thought of like, I could not do it. But
see, that's interesting. You're saying in an extreme circumstance, you still have this sense of right and wrong.
I will not ever eat someone.
And that's what I'm saying with
or taste someone, unless we're talking like sex, but we're not talking about that. But like,
well, there's two extremes. There's the Cthulhu problem, and then there's I don't know what the opposite, heaven or whatever, where you have the most amount of free will, where you are a god, I guess would be the opposite. In both cases, when you are a god, you always make the right decision, right?
No matter what.
No matter what, presumably. You're omniscient, omnipotent, whatever. But then in the Cthulhu issue, it seems like you can't make the right decision no matter what you do. And that seems to be the case with any extreme scenario. When you don't have a lot of options, when you have very little options that you can make rationally or morally, that makes it impossible to determine objective morality, which gives me dread. That makes me like not happy, because it implies that when you have an overwhelming force or despair, that is the formula to destroy your humanity. Period. On a fundamental level. Cthulhu can shred your humanity to bits just by being.
So that's the conclusion we've come to?
I don't like that conclusion, Bryson.
Why?
So I want to go... Because I don't believe it.
What are you going to do about him, Javin?
You're not. But you can do something about you. You can be the person you want to be in any circumstance. I believe that you can be a good person in any circumstance. Not that it's easy, but I want to figure out how to be a good person in the face of a literal despair god. What do you do? Because that has implications for what we do in extreme circumstances and how we judge people in extreme circumstances. Like the Milgram experiment, where they were they were told to do they were told to electrocute that guy. Yeah. They felt like they didn't have a choice, and they did. They definitely did. It spoke to their character. And this Cthulhu problem, I want to understand how it speaks to people's character.
Definitely does. Yeah. I mean,
it has to. But at the same time, like you said, it's like you have no options. How could you judge somebody based off of their lack of options?
Right.
So I guess that's what I wanted to propose to the public. I didn't expect to solve this.
Yeah, no, I was like, dude, it's like...
this is a hard one. But I think it's an important question to answer, because it shows us, like, when people are put into insane circumstances, how do we judge them? How do we judge ourselves? And where do we go as a society from there? Because one day a meteor will hit our planet. One day things will shut down. Someday global warming is a bitch, and people are going to die.
We got to do a topic on global warming.
Oh my God. Yeah. We need to do a series.
We could do a series on global warming.
Global warming is my Cthulhu. That's...
Yeah. All right. We'll do a series on...
Global warming's my Cthulhu.
A statement.
That's a statement.
So... what's the question of the day, Javin? Normally I have a question, but you're pretty passionate about this topic, so I'm going to let you...
My question is this even a valid question? Like, is this not interesting? You're like, oh, it's got a clear, simple answer. You're making a big thing out of nothing. Or do you think this matters, and that it matters to answer this kind of question? And if it does, tell me why. Like, how do you think you could apply this idea of Cthulhu to your life? Where is Cthulhu in your heart?
Stop it.
Tell us in the
Alrighty.
comments.
Like and subscribe. We'll see you
Like
guys
and
next
subscribe.
time.